followed not only her, but his family and friends. It drew people to him. He owned up to his mistakes, said sorry when it needed to be said, and when he hurt her, or anyone really, she knew it hurt him just as deeply. All those things made him complex and special. She still had trouble reconciling who he'd been to her and what he'd done. Not out of spite, but selfishness. Michael was nothing like Christopher, and Michael resented Christopher for the life he'd built, the successes he'd achieved, anything and everything that Christopher had, and Michael wanted. How much? Michael demanded an answer that was none of his business. She'd been a working landscape artist when she met Christopher, selling her paintings in a local art gallery in town. Barely known, she spent the night of her gallery showing worrying no one would buy any of her paintings. He came in looking for something to brighten his new office, a gift to himself for his recent promotion at a high-end furniture import company. The scene that captured his attention? Maya Bay, Koh Phi Phi in Thailand. He loved the blue ocean and light sand-colored cliffs with the rich and vibrant green vegetation, one of the most beautiful beaches she'd ever seen. He fell in love with it, and when she made a point to thank him in person for the purchase, he couldn't take his eyes off her and asked her out on the spot. She fell just as hard and fast for him. They honeymooned in Thailand a year later. She'd come a long way since those early showings where she waited with bated breath, hoping someone bought her work. Over the last few years, her career had skyrocketed. Her paintings were sold in many high-end galleries. The prices for her landscapes went up and so did demand, until she couldn't believe the amount of money people paid for her creations. She loved painting. That she made a living doing it had been the dream all along. It felt lucky and sometimes unreal that she got to do what she loved most. It still felt more like pleasure than work even after all these years. Michael wouldn't understand any of that. For him, life came down to what you had and what you wanted. She finally turned to him. "What are you doing here?" Michael took a step closer. "Looking out for my brother's interests. As you know, I have them well in hand." What was left of Christopher's things, anyway? "You don't deserve any of it." She raised a brow. "Christopher and the judge disagreed with you." Michael folded his arms over his chest. "He told me you asked him for a divorce." "Everything I had to say on the matter is part of the testimony I gave when you contested the will. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a schedule to keep." He stepped into her path, blocking her from showing him out. Angry and bitter, she tried to hide both because she didn't want to give him the satisfaction of seeing her lose her composure. All she wanted to do was say goodbye to the ghosts in this house and this part of her life, and take that first step toward the future. She wanted the chance to leave with a clear head and heart, knowing that she'd never forget Christopher, but she was ready to move on and live her life without him. It had taken her a long time to grieve and accept the part she'd played in the downfall of their marriage and learn from her mistakes. It took even more time to understand that not everything that happened was her fault, though sometimes she faltered on that when she thought of the aching hole in her heart. Her hurt and anger had been an anchor weighing her down and stealing the light from her life for far too long. So she'd found a way to forgive, if not forget. Michael leaned in. "Do you really think I'll let you just walk away?" She met his gaze and held it, confident that she'd executed her husband's last wishes to the letter, as per his will and in the spirit in which he'd wanted her to handle things with the ones he loved. All of them. Michael simply couldn't accept that Christopher chose his beloved wife over his blood. The law was also on her side as far as that was concerned. It should have been a simple matter of executing the will. Angry, grieving Michael complicated the matter, and now he wanted the money he thought she didn't deserve. She simplified things for him once again. "After all that's happened, the one thing I know, and you refuse to accept, is that Christopher loved me. And he knew I loved him." "And yet, you were planning to leave him." She didn't confirm or deny because she'd promised Christopher she'd keep his secrets. "Whatever you think you know about me, Christopher, or our marriage, you don't. So don't stand there and say things that aren't true simply because you want things that don't belong to you." He glared down at her, his arms rigid at his sides. "He's gone because of you." She knew that was his grief talking, but...